Hi again, and thank you for joining us for our first after show. I'm Marcos Kounalakis, joined by Debbie Phillips and Dan Mulhern, and I'm feeling somewhat humbled after this episode of Secrets of the Better Halves. All right, so Doug Emhoff said some nice things about me, but he also showed how adept and self-conscious he is in this new and important second gentleman role.
You felt humbled, Marcos, because he referred to you, I think, as his second gentleman, which was cool. I thought it also showed his humility that it's a role he's playing, and he doffed his cap to you when he's home in California and LA, that you're his second gentleman. And I thought that was cool. It reminded me of one of the things that I loved about this episode and hearing from him. And that is that he was talking specifically about their morning routine. And the first thing I loved is like, okay, that just made so darn much sense. Don't get into anything in the morning. You're both preoccupied with stuff, like just good, solid wisdom from the second gentleman. And the second thing was, he said he would follow her out. He would make sure she got on her way with all of her binders and her bags and whatever she needed to go. That just reminded me of the expression, after you. Somebody told me those were the two most powerful words in the English language, after you. Followership is a big deal. And in a way, he's a great follower. He's a servant leader. He's an affectionate husband. That inspired me because I'm not all that an awful lot of times. And he made it sound so good. You know, we ought to be like that.
Well, and I'm taking advantage of this because I like going after you, Dan. And I love doing the interview with you. And I was actually surprised by Doug Emhoff. He obviously is this high-powered entertainment lawyer who has stepped back to support our vice president. And I was surprised at his equanimity, at his calm, at his clear role in knowing that he was supporting her. I'm so curious for both of you. What did you love about this interview?
I'm especially curious about you, Marcos. Marcos had to be in South Korea doing his foreign diplomatic work at the time. And so he's listened to it just as our listeners are listening to it now. What stood out for you, Marcos?
Well, the maturity and the wisdom and the calm that he brings to being at the center of the storm of the world. I mean, every day, his wife is the vice president of the United States and faces every single massive geopolitical question, reads documents that would scare the bejesus out of anyone on a daily basis. Yet he's able to bring normalcy to that relationship and to their life, recognizing all of those things. And so I guess it's his maturity and wisdom. And I think that comes from a life lived, professional success and self-confidence. And I think just being a great guy. So how about you, Dan?
Well, you know what was cool was the advice he got from our First Lady, Jill Biden. I thought that was really cool because it makes me think of almost any new job, you know, and you're talking to somebody who's been there. And she said to him, there's no way you're going to understand this until you're in it. So the one thing she said is be authentic. And that was the thing that struck me about him. And maybe getting older, Marcos, maybe all that experience, we get to a point where we can just be ourselves. And that's what I felt like with him, was like, we weren't getting political speak. I mean, he was just for real. And I just like that.
Yeah, I love that so much as well. And for our show, to show people what the scene is behind the scenes of Better Halves. Because yes, while both of these people are out and about in the world as figures, to be at home, my favorite moment, I think, was him describing his wife making bolognese and stirring with a spoon, and then she hands the spoon over to him while she takes a call to be vice president. I thought that was just such a tender, beautiful moment. And these are the nuggets I love us learning about better halves and how people can be better halves to each other.
Join us on the next episode of Secrets of the Better Halves to see what we'll be cooking up then.